Time is now 5:30. We'll call this February 14th Newton County Council to order. We'll begin with the invocation by Councilmember Younts, followed by the pledge of allegiance.
I got a couple of verses that I'd like to start off with. They're short. This first one concerns us as a city, concerns us as a state, concerns us as a nation. I'm probably a lot of you heard it and read it. It's 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people called by my name will humble themselves, pray and seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, will forgive their sin, or heal their land. The second one I'd like to read concerns each individual, myself included at the top of the list. It's 1 John 2:15. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Everything is worldly. Previous of sin around the list of his enemies and the function of what he has and does comes not from the Father but the world. The world and its desires will pass away, but the man who does the will of God lives forever. Let's pray. Lord God, we ask you to be with us and watch over us. We're grateful for this day. We pray, Lord, for another day. Once again, Lord, we ask courage. Glorify your kingdom on earth. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Next, we have approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Motion by Ms. Bracken, second by Ms. Clark. Are there any additions in relation to the agenda? And I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Up next, we have approval of the minutes. We have 3 sets tonight. The call session from January 10th, regular session from January 24th, and the committee on public works January 18th.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the call session on January the 10th. But I also want to know, could that be called our organizational meeting? But we organize council at that particular time, or just need to be a call meeting?
Would just be a call session.
A call session. All right. I move that we adopt as our official recording of the minutes for January the 10th, 2023.
Motion January 10th call meeting in a second. Second. Carol, are there any additions or deletions to those minutes? And I'll come to that. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Next, we have minutes from the regular session 24th. I have a motion. Carol. Second by Mr. Lincoln. Are there any additions or deletions from the regular session on the 24th? And I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Also for January 18th, Committee on Public Works. Do I have a motion? By Mr. Carroll. Second by Mr. Rankin. Are there any additions or deletions? Here now, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Next, we have public comments. We have 2 folks signed up this evening. The first is Ms. Garrison.
Stephen Dixon Garrison from Fountain. And I first want to start off by saying, about first comprehensive plan meeting. Very well done. I believe that the county has hired the right person for the job. A big thank you to Mr. Carroll for being there. We very much appreciate the time and the effort that's going into this. I was very pleased. It was great. It was a good thing. I thought it was wonderful last night. And I know there's many more, so I hope they go as well. But I would like to bring back a few comments from Mr. DeWitt, words that were spoken at the last council meeting about the communication and transparency. He made mention of the developer tearing up a portion of Wells Road, that the county did not, the county didn't do it, but the developer did. My thought is, why didn't anyone in this council speak up and say the developer did it? Because the council, by passing ordinance 906, did a quick claim deed to the developer. Why wouldn't the county think it would have been appropriate to notify adjacent property owners that this was happening? Because the property owners would not have any reason to look in the advertiser or the county website for the notice of a third reading in the public hearing of it when it didn't occur, because there was no notification that's happening to warrant someone to look for it. This is what we're talking about when we say better communication. Why would anyone go to the paper or the website to look for the relocation of the road when there was no evidence of that going to happen? Same issue that we've had about the subdivisions, and we're very thankful in the new ordinance that is now required by the developer to post the signage for the proposals. It should be the same for situations like this. For example, in counties that have zoning, they will place that there's going to be a rezoning hearing signs. A notification should have been given about the road relocation by sign or by the few property owners that lived on that road. I think would have been appropriate. And that, I think that's what, we've all been trying to come and say, is there's just, how would we go and look for that when there's nothing to see for us to go look for it? We're not seeing anything happening there, until it's already approved or that kind of thing, and how that would benefit for transparency and communication. I also want y'all to know that I'm very thankful for the new subdivision ordinances. I think we of course wanted a little bit more time and more improvements could have been made, but it's a whole lot better than what we had. With that being said, I want to express concerns moving forward because of what I've learned before you. So far, this county is absolutely catered to developers. I promise you it's very evident in what I've read. Even though we have the new ordinance, my confidence that our county will completely follow them is not there. I promise you, I have reason to feel that way from what I've learned. If you don't believe me, maybe some of you should for you yourself. I can assure you that in many cases, not all the I's were dotted and T's crossed. We have heard that if all their I's were dotted and their T's were crossed, that we had to approve them. But I have not found that to be true. Months ago, I attended a Greenville County Plan Commission meeting. A developer was presenting his plan for a third time. It fit into the zoning requirements and other requirements for the area. But because of many showing up with their concerns of the road network and the conditions of where the subdivision entrance was wanting to go, it was denied again. The only issue the Planning Commission brought up to deny the development was that the road was not sufficient for safety of the residents and the possibility of a red light being installed for them to deny that development. So I hope and pray that our technical review committee and the planning commission will do the same. Maybe we can also, if it still exists, incorporate the Lawrence County Transportation Commission and add them into the mix. I want that we all look, that they look at the whole picture of our rural area, make responsible decisions, and not just the developers cross their I's and dot their T's. Once again, I want you to know we are not against growth. We just want very responsible growth. We want our communities and county to thrive, but in a responsible, safe manner. I don't want you to look at us as your adversary, but your residents that want to work with you for responsible growth. I want to end with this thought. I want you to look through the eyes of the residents, because we've heard many times we can't do anything to go back about the past and what's been done. We can only look at the future. If one of us residents had built something or done something, whatever it may be, and we did not adhere to the county ordinance, and it was found out that we did not, would we not be held accountable in some form or fashion? So why should we not expect the county to be held to the same standard? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett. Next, Ms. Hall. Governor outside.
Hi, I hate doing this. Let me try. I live on 1838 Durban Road. And I found out that the man that we bought our house from, which we were verbally told when we closed on the house a few years ago, that we would have the first option to buy additional property. Stupid, we took the face value as far as we, word. Which I found out that he has a contract now with the developer. And I live like a quarter of a mile from the other subdivision being built. And so there's gonna be another, we've got a couple acres, but all around our house, there's gonna be another subdivision, proposed subdivision. We haven't seen, I want to know, where does it stand as far as with you guys? Have they submitted the plans? I was under the impression they've already submitted a plan. There's no signing, nothing going on around my house. Plus, another thing is my septic system is on that property. I thought we were going to be able to buy the property, but it's on the property. So does that mean a builder's going to go in there and destroy our septic system? But I just want to know, where does this stand? Does anybody know as far as it's?
They're required to sign up within, it's either 5 or 7 days, 5 days of when they submit for their pre-approval. So they're
Well, it's been a couple weeks already.
heard you the public works director right there. You can give him the address of the property and he would know whether or not anything.
See where it stands? Yeah. Because I know I talked to the owner, and he just says it's not a done deal, but the developer wants to make sure they could build a certain number of homes there to make it a done deal. And I don't want to wait till the last minute like what happened before. And then it's too late to do anything. But what my option is with the septic system. And so it just, I don't know what to do. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yes,
Maybe
ma'am.
you guys can help. Now, who do I speak with?
Gentleman in the till shirt right there after the meeting, if you'll do with them, he can help you.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. All right, next, we have special recognition this evening. First, at the Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce Dinner last week, and I see Sergeant Brown here. One of Sergeant Brown's deputies, Deputy Tyler Stroud, was awarded the Officer of the Year for the Lawrence County Sheriff's Department, which is an awesome honor for anyone to receive. His hard work and dedication was noticed by his peers and others around the community, nominated for that award and elected. So please convey our congratulations to them on that award. We appreciate his service and all of your service greatly. Up next is a sad one that I hate to have to announce, but I thought I saw him come in. Chuck, are you here? Bubba, stand up for a second. Mr. Bobo has submitted his resignation letter and has accepted a new job and is moving on to bigger and awesomer things. And I just want to take a minute. Chuck's served for right at a decade, and he's lots been done under his purview. We conduct our ordinance. So we all remember that. One of the things that is really awesome that you know about is the dumpster program we have for mobile home parks, dilapidated mobile homes. The county offers a free removal service. They provide the dumpsters, and you have the home demolished and put into the dumpsters, and we haul it off for you. That's a program that Chuck was heavy-handed in, as well as rewriting the RV ordinance recently, and also had a big hand, of course, in the subdivision ordinance that we did.
Another big thing that sometimes goes unnoticed is the installing the building code software and the technology to make these folks' jobs a lot easier than they were years ago. And we thank you for the leadership on that. Most importantly, and something we try to have across all departments, is the way you led and instilled an environment of teamwork, not only in your department, but working with your neighbor and assessor's office, which y'all often have to do. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you've done for this county and brought us through this decade. And we wish you great success at your new endeavors.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. If anybody has anything they'd like to add.
Well, I've had to work in this Bobo several times on some of my projects. I want to say this for him. He's got common sense. The man has common sense. He goes by the letter of the law, but he's got common sense and I appreciate that because there's a lot of them that don't.
Thank you very much.
I thanked him earlier because when he came to the county, we had a lot of concerns at that particular time, and he seemed like he's always open enough to address them. They do work as a team. When you talk to one, you almost can talk to the whole body of them because they seem to talk together. And that means a lot when people talk together and not at each other, but to each other. And when you have a concern, if one of them is not there, the other one will pick up on it and try to address it. And I know occasionally we ask them to do things that is totally out of their control, but they'll try to work at it and see if they can talk to the individual to bring them on board to understand why we're asking certain things. I just appreciate the time and effort that you give to the citizens of this county. And I wish you success in your new endeavor, but the door is always open for you to come back home when you get ready.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Don't be a stranger.
Thanks a lot.
All right, up next, we got a few reports this evening. I'm gonna first call on Ms. Morrow to introduce our auditors. We're gonna review the audit for 2021, 2022.
Tonight we have Representative from Malden and Jenkins, Grant Davis back here to present our financial report.
So,
Mr. Chairman, members of council, thank you for having me here tonight to go over the fiscal year 22, June 30, 2022 audit report. I guess you probably have copies of it in front of you there. I'll refer to a few page numbers as I go, but first, I just want to mention we issue ultimately 3 documents in conjunction with the audit. The first is the financial statements themselves, actually the thicker of the 3. The second is what we call our auditor's discussion analysis. You're probably familiar with it from prior years, but that document serves a couple of purposes. One is to give you a little information about who we are as a firm. Beyond that, it includes some brief financial analysis of the county as a whole, and then there's some pie charts relative to the general fund, revenues broken out by their relative percentages, expenditures, and so on. And then just after that, there's a section that includes the communications that we are required to have with you all as your independent auditors. And those things, just in summary, not in great detail, but are things like we're independent of the county. We didn't have any disagreements with management in conducting the audit. We didn't have any uncorrected misstatements. Like, and those are all memorialized in this auditor's discussion and analysis. The third and final document is simply just includes a couple of recommendations, non-internal control matters, nothing of real significance relative to the audit, but those are the 3 things that we have issued. So I'm going to spend my time this evening in the financial statements themselves, the thicker of the 3 documents, and I'll just refer, if you're flipping along with me, to a couple of pages in. Page number 1 is our independent auditor's report. We have issued an unmodified opinion on the county's financial statements. We conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, and all that is spelled out throughout about 3 pages of this opinion. But again, we've issued unmodified opinions. That's a clean report. It is the first of 3 reports that we have issued in this document, and I'll refer to the other as we go. The other 2 are in the back. So to avoid skipping through everything and get straight to those, I'll draw your attention to page number 16. This is the balance sheet from a fund perspective. And of course, usually the general fund is a primary interest. And I'm going to round as I give you these numbers, but the general fund ended fiscal year 22 at $47.5 million in total assets versus about $33 million in total liabilities. And the majority of those liabilities are amounts payable to other funds of the county. The general fund sort of acts as the bank of the county as a whole. So that gives you fund balance of about $13.9 million, which is an increase from the prior year of about 2.2 million. So fund balance increased from 21 to 22 of about $2.2 million. And it's always important when you think about fund balance to look at what portion of it is unassigned. That means basically available for expenditures, not restricted for anything. The vast majority, about 12.8 million of that 13.9 is considered unassigned, available for use. And again, that's not restricted by any outside parties such as the federal government and the state government. I will draw your attention to one other thing with the general fund. Unearned revenues are shown as a liability. I brought out $1.1 million. That's representative of what's left in the state and local fiscal recovery fund monies. So the way that the accounting for that basically is when the monies are received initially, they're received before you spend them. It's not a reimbursement based grant. So that shows up as a liability, and then as you spend the money, you recognize the revenue for it. So any residual amounts that are left over from that program are shown as a liability or unearned revenue due to the simple fact that if you don't spend it, you got to give it back. So that's what that is there. And those the state and local fiscal recovery fund are not reflected in that fund balance number ultimately that I communicated just earlier. Page 17, the income statement of the general fund. Again, just a couple of highlights, $42 million in revenues, a big increase this year in intergovernmental revenues. That's that state and local fiscal recovery funds to about $12 million of that 16.5 there. And then property tax is certainly the largest individual item, about 19.9 million. $38 million in expenditures. This all gives you, again, like we said earlier, an increase in fund balance of about $2.2 million from 21 and 22. Very little ultimately has changed in the ensuing pages. The footnotes, certainly the numbers and the dates. This footnote section goes on for about 40 pages. Just after that, but the structure of the document has not changed really any from prior years. So I'll draw your attention here just the last few items. Page 81, if you're flipping along with me, this is the second of the 3 reports that I mentioned at the beginning. This is our report on the income controls and compliance with laws, regulations, grant agreements, so forth and so on. This report is not designed to offer an opinion, but just to notify this body that as a part of our audit, if we would have noticed any internal control deficiencies or any instances of non-compliance, we would have had to communicate to those to you all. We had no such instances of non-compliance or internal control deficiencies. So that is the purpose of that report. The final and third report, page 83. This is our what we call our single audit report. This is the report on compliance with federal requirements associated with spending federal monies. And the county received, was spent, I should say, about $12.2 million in federal monies from a variety of programs in fiscal year 22. And the most significant of which, again, was that state and local fiscal recovery fund. We audited that program, which was about, I don't know, probably 95% of the total. So about 95% of your federal expenditures this year we audited, and we have a clean report on that as well. So no non-compliance with federal guidelines, no internal control deficiencies associated with the spending of that federal money. Ultimately, all of this is summarized on page 88 in sort of short order form. You can see all we had unmodified opinion, we had no in terms of non-compliance and internal control deficiency. So again, it's an overall clean report. We did have to implement a new accounting standard this year. I won't go into the detail of it, but it was a good bit of work. And I just want to congratulate Renee on her efforts to not only get that implemented, but to have it done on time. You can see our report today is December 30th, and we're submitted to the state on time. So all together, very positive report from our perspective.
All right.
I can keep going.
No, I think we heard what we need to hear, and we appreciate you and your firm and all your hard work. And it's a lot to go through. We recognize that, and we appreciate it. Any questions, comments from council members?
Yeah, I have a question. So Grant, we to get our stuff to you in better order than we have in the past.
Certainly, I think, in fiscal year 21, there was definitely a challenge with the transition in finance director. I forget exactly how long that position was ultimately. I think vacant, several months. But this year, we began our field work, I believe, in October. Which is typical. We spent about 2 weeks doing that, which is typical for the county the size of Lawrence County, and has been the case historically. And again, I think the biggest wrinkle this year was the new accounting standard. It's called GASB 87 relative to leases. It was a lot of work to go through all of that data. I know it wasn't specifically for Renee as well to try to figure out what is a lease, what is not, and of course, they standard quantify all that. Yeah, I mean, I think the end all be all is always going to be the date that the report's issued. And even though it was one day before the deadline, it still met the deadline. And yeah, we're very, very pleased with the timeline, at least from our perspective.
Thank you. Is there anything we need to be doing going forward or changing?
No, sir, I don't think so. The biggest challenge I think that local governments and specifically county governments are facing are the new accounting standards that keep being rolled out year after year. Your audits are not being done. You think about all the efficiencies. If you think about the artificial intelligence, the chat GPT is a big thing now. What can that do for us in terms of making audits more efficient, ultimately requiring less time? That's completely offset by the additional accounting standards that the standard setting body, which is called GASB, continues to roll out. There's another one for fiscal year 23. That's probably going to be just as challenging as the one we just went through. And it's going to be really insight on that. So I think the main recommendation that I have informally would be to just try to stay on top of those new standards, which we're obviously very capable of doing. And we're always happy to help implement, make sure that goes the right way, addressed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we've been out there for a while.
Yeah.
So it's something that they've been asking us to look at for a while too. Get to the place we need to get to.
Well, now, I think, the county is all in compliance with the standards that it is implemented, and if they are required, it's GASB sets GAAP, which is generally accepted county principles for government. So you don't really have any choice but to follow what they say, even though it may be frustrating or kind of ridiculous. I can't make that argument, but anyway, it is what it is. The county is in compliance with all required standards and has adopted all of them.
Anybody else? Thank you again, and I guess we'll see you in a year.
All right.
Up next, I'm calling Mr. Billy Wilson. He's got a couple of CST updates for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. Been asked to give you all a quick update of a couple of projects going on with the CPSD. The first one we're going to address is the Lawrence County Animal Shelter. That project is pieces to it have been ordered. We will be getting started late spring due to the fact if we have to displace any animals or whatever, or we can't get adopted out or whatever, we have looking at measures in place to house those animals before it gets too hot or through the cold weather too. So we make it as comfortable as possible while we're doing this. We're looking at maybe a 2-week time frame of this happening when we go in and tear down the fencing and put in the new kennels. That's been ordered. Those were ordered in July. They told us it would be a 7 to 8 month window to expect shipment, so we're looking for that toward the end of March, 1st of April, so it all ought to hit just about perfect. Jeff Brown, Liberty Main Sheriff's Office, he and I will be working together on this. He is the lead person who was instrumental in getting this approved through or bring it to the committees, sales tax to be voted on by the public. I think once it's said and done, it'll be a real nice addition out there and make real proud piece. And so with the next piece of it, the evidence facility for the sheriff's office, we broke ground around October, November of 20. After having all of that, it really didn't get started till around February, March of 21. After all the bids and everything, we're right on schedule. We are 99% complete with that. Asphalt's been laid. The building is, we actually have occupancy of the building. We've already signed that over, or the contractor, the general contractor already signed that over to us. We were working on the punch list. The only thing we have left is a track system for their filings, their evidence, things like that, that will be on a rolling tracks inside in the floor area. That will not be delivered until March 18th, I think is what we have, 17th or 18th is what we have on schedule right now for that to be delivered and set up. But I was in there last Friday. Sheriff's office is already starting to assemble some small shelving areas, things like that. But we are 99% complete, and the punch list is, we're in our second week of it, and next week we plan on visiting again and going over that punch list again to see what else is due. But it's a very nice facility. For those of you who don't know, it's located right there in front of our detention center on Templeton Road. But it is, we plan on having to do a ribbon cutting just as soon as we get to go ahead. The punch list is done, everything, we'll be letting you all know and working that out to the media and all that. So, and the residents of the county, it's a very nice addition. So
Fantastic. Questions or comments? I just want to thank you for heading those up. I know you had a big hand in one of those, and Sergeant Brown in the back, your upgrades to the animal shelter are long past due. I'm glad we were able to accomplish them this way, and look forward to that completion once they get those supplies here. And of course, evidence center, you've heard talk about that for years, and it's failing in this current facility. So we could be able to properly secure evidence and have a place to do the work. Thank you, Billy.
thank you.
All right, up next, we're going to move into old business. First up, we have council submissions, boards, commissions, and committees, and we do have one. We have from Carol to fill the vacant spot on the planning commission. Tom Robertson, District 5 appointee. He's been nominated. Mr. Carroll, I'll take a vote on approving him for that committee. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Are there any other appointments, county board commissions or committees we need to address?
Chairman, I'd like to withdraw Susan Stewart's nomination for the county library board.
All right, withdrawing Ms. Susan Stewart nomination for library board for District 2. No, what did you read? 7. All right. So, are there any other things we need to address on county boards, commissions, or committees? All right. Up next. Yes, ma'am.
Did David appoint her?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It was that's your appointee, right, Mr. Shepard? Okay. All right, up next, public hearing on ordinance 938, project Mill 1 FELO agreement. Just as a reminder, that is the Mill 1, Mill 2 are the two spec buildings being built by a private developer in the northeastern part of the county. And Bluefield. All right, the time is now 6:05 and I'll open for the public hearing on ordinance 938. If you'd like to speak on that ordinance, please come to the mic and state your name.
What is ordinance 938?
Ordinance 938 is project Mill 1 FELO.
What does that mean? What does that involve?
It is a FELO agreement for project Mill 1, which is a spec building being built in Woodfield. What do you call that?
It's Woodfield
Industrial Park. Seeing no one, I'll close public hearing. Next, we have third reading on ordinance 938 for the project Mill 1 FELO. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve ordinance 938, project Mill 1 FELO.
Motion by Mr. Rankin. Second by Mr. Yamas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Up next, we have public hearing for ordinance 939, which is the second building. It is project Mill 2. It's now 6:06 and I'll open the floor for public hearing. If you'd like to speak, please approach the mic and state your name. Seeing no one, I will close public hearing. Call for a motion for the third and final reading of ordinance 939, project Mill 2 FELO agreement. Motion by Mr. Carroll. Second. Second by Mr. Pruitt. Is there any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Second project 40, public hearing. Title enlarging the Octagon Industrial Park. This will put Mill 1, Mill 2 in the Octagon 2 park agreement. Time is now 6:07 and I'll open the floor for public hearing. Seeing no one, I'll close public hearing. I'll call for motion for third and final reading of ordinance 940. Octagon Industrial Park to include project Mill 1 and Mill 2. Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Rankin. Is there any discussion? He's not here tonight, but I'd like to thank the Jonathan Coleman, the director of Lawrence County Development Corporation. He's at an automotive event in Greenville, trying to secure more great industries for our county. But this is a big step for Lawrence County. It is the, I guess it's the second and third property done spec buildings in our county. The first one was the one that went up in the Nextel Center last year. So the fact that private investors are choosing to come to Lawrence and build spec buildings is fantastic, because historically government entity built those buildings and then attempted to build them. So we're probably able to spend their own money to do it. We've made it. Is there any other discussion on ordinance 940? Have a motion in a second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. All right, we'll move into new business. I'm going to call on county administrator.
Yes, sir. In light of not apologize. In the light of Mr. Bogo's recognition earlier, staff review of the job description. For your review, separation.
Yes, I have one question. Is there been anything that's been changed with the job description?
Not that I'm aware of, I'd have to consult with our HR department on that, but it is pretty much what the industry mandates. There are, certain regulations and requirements is set forth by LLR. You see that outlined in the training experience, but outside of that. It's pretty-
Any other questions?
Since it has been checked, you don't know whether it's been changed or not, so.
No, yeah, but I did review it and it all seems in line with.
I would have thought so, but I just want to know that you, was it anything that, Mr. Bobo could have given us as input that we needed to put in here, other than what we already have, if it's not the same. Somebody.
I mean, I don't see anything with the feature of Seattle line. This is pretty much.
Any other questions for Mr. Diggs? Do I have a motion to approve the Director of Building Codes Administration job description? Motion approved. Motion by Mr. Brandon,
Second.
second by Ms. Clark. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Also, with this same business item, I should see number 27, page 2, minimum training experience. We were required to have a licensed building official retained, that could be on staff or contracted with Mr. Bobo. Leaves us at the end of next week, I believe. He'll be leaving us before we're able to hire a placement. I would like to make a motion to allow the county administrator on an as-needed basis for a particular incident to contract with a third-party vendor who is a licensed building official to be able to sign off on any plans or any documents needed while we are in our interim.
I thought, Ms. Bird was a building code person. She had been, I thought, what's your, what has been your title? Building code, not a director. You also did with.
And we have several inspectors on staff. We have several commercial inspectors on staff, but we do not have a licensed building. I mean, that's the title of the LLR is building official, and that's the certification that's required. We looked earlier today, there's actually only 5 that we found in Lawrence County in total, amongst all agencies and private sector. So they're not, unfortunately, they're not a dime a dozen. There are contract companies that will work with us on a as-needed basis, and we may or may not have any that we have to deal with interim, but we need to, I believe the administrator needs to have the ability to contract with one should the need arise before we're able to hire.
And I just knew she had a long record with the city of Lawrence.
Yes, ma'am. Do we have a second on that? Second by Mr. Karen. Is there any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Before we leave that topic, Mr. Higgs, do you mind giving us kind of an overview of the timeline you're looking for to go through the hiring process?
We'll start the advertisement immediately, probably the morning. We'll like to have it posted no less than 2 weeks. I think that's an adequate we can start interviews during the 2-week process, but speaking, say it takes 2 weeks. An interview, decide to hire somebody, there's, if they have another option or practices, you give a 2-week notice. So you'd be talking with the onboarding, then where you got to notice, no less than 30, 40.
The total last day is when?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
the
24.
Yes.
Trying to get some numbers tonight. Thank you.
That's all we have for new business this evening. We'll move into county comments. I'll start on my right, Ms. Clark.
No comments.
Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here tonight. I did want to make mention that we have a committee, comprehensive plan meeting in my district tomorrow night at 5 p.m. at the Hickory Tavern Fire Department. I would encourage all of my residents in that area to be vocal and be present for that meeting. So that's tomorrow night, Hickory Tavern Fire Department at 5 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This evening, I've been talking to my connections and so at the city of Clinton, and they're making me aware that we've got a problem with the trustee. Like 35, 40 years ago was that program had been going on for a very long time at that point. The program works where at that time Clinton had a jail and they were monitoring their own prisoners, and the people who had been sentenced to serve there were able to do labor, value added labor to the city's portfolio of duties, and they earned privileges and so forth in order to be able to make their life a little bit better. They did a really good job. Sometimes they got recommendations and pointers and people that helped them out in later life. That program is broken down, at least as far as the city of Clinton is concerned, and that's an unacceptable result for me. I'm not going to live with that. And that we've got other things going on. It may be that that's the sheriff's prerogative. We have other prerogatives as well. So this is a good program for jurisprudence as well. It's not just good for the individuals, it's good for the whole system. And that I want you to understand the point here, and that is that the jurisprudence system is not perfect, and that it's never going to be perfect. It's dealing with imperfections. That's what it does. Okay. And that these people that are in these programs are people that have earned the prerogative to have some privileges and to provide some value out of the course of their day. They leave the jail every day. They come down to the city of Clinton, and that the program has been stopped with the city of Clinton, but it hasn't been stopped overall. There's still trustees leaving and going to work at other places in the county. It's just the city of Clinton. And that's not good for me as a taxpayer. It's value that I'm going to have to be taxed for in order to be provided. It's not good for the jurisprudence system. And as I see it, it's not good for anybody. And that we'll be talking about this more. This is not the end of that question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kirkland. Yeah, sir. Sammy.
I'll start off light. I hope everybody have a happy Valentine's Day. And I'm hoping all the men step up and the women step up also. Secondly, it is Black History Month. And the founder of Black History is Carter G. Woodson. I'll just lift one name this evening, and that would be Thurgood Marshall, who was our first African-American Supreme Court Justice. Thirdly, I know Susan Stewart. And I know she's a valuable person to the library board, because she was a teacher. I know she has something to offer. And when people volunteer to serve, it touches me in a place where I know they got something to give and to give back. And we all supposed to be giving back something. We don't supposed to walk through this world and don't give back in some way, or form, of fashion. But I don't have any control over what council member appoint what person to whatever board member that we have. But I wish that our library person could look at the list of people who are serving, and that if she could find in that large seat that where Susan Stewart can serve, I would like to see her serve. And I'm gonna stop right there, because I am a little emotional about it. And I don't like my emotions to really get the best of me. And occasionally they will, and I think all of us experience that from one time or other, because we are only human. And we all have human flaws. So I'm gonna stop right there, and I'm hoping we can look at something. Thank you much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was an honor and I was glad to have been able to participate in the first of the input sessions for the comp plan for the public meetings. I am optimistic after the meeting about gathering the information we need to produce a good plan. We have picked a good consultant that is going to do a thorough job and produce something for us to evaluate, so that Lawrence County going forward is doing the right thing with its land use and things like that. So I was just glad to be able to attend.
I would like to say I appreciate Ms. Garrett's comments. I regret I was not at the meeting last night out of work conflict. I do look forward to joining Mr. Rankin tomorrow night and pick a tavern. But I am glad to hear that feelings from some of the community members that choice consultant is good. He was big, he's unbiased. He, at least in recent last 5 years, to my knowledge, has done people work with the county. He has no preconceived notions, and he's able to give a truly unbiased opinion from things that he hears. We have now the first 10, and I'm just glad we're able to do these in all the different communities, get the input from each community and compile that, because I've said it a zillion times. What's good for Grayport isn't necessarily good for Cross Hills. You know, get their input from each individual area will be vital in putting the plan together as a whole. I appreciate Mr. Trill bringing out the issues with the trustee program. I know we use them here at the county, Sheriff's Office, Parks and Rec. Several different areas are able to utilize that trustee program, and I can understand that it'd be detrimental to a small city like Clinton to lose that ability to be able to come to some sort of solution to that problem. I did notice we slipped in on this overall, who is the secretary. They loop you in again.
Yeah.
Secretary Lawrence District 55 School Board. We appreciate President of the School Board attending here this evening. Then also to echo Ms. Anderson's sentiments, happy Valentine's Day. I hope everybody did what they're supposed to. Awaiting me to get home to see what I have gotten for her. So with that being said, I'll call for a motion to
Push to adjourn.
Rankin. Second by Mr. Carroll, all those. Oh,
One housekeeping matter, these signatures before everybody gets out of here, and there's no Valentine's in here, just these signatures.
all right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. 7-0. Yeah, I have one for you.